men and women's home games in basketball, where will they be at?
We're pointing right now, I see Graham Neff and Tim Match back there. We're pointing right now to play those at the Bond Secure Wellness Center, especially the men's. Now the women's, we're still dealing on where best to give them the best advantage to play, so maybe not all of their games would be in the Bond Secure, but there'll be a number of doubleheaders and 2-game sets there with both men and women, afternoon, evening kind of a thing. But we're excited about the opportunity of going to Greenville and playing the 15-16 season, because it will give us an opportunity to expose not only Clemson basketball but ACC basketball to the Greenville area, and then in hopes of getting some great momentum and having some of those fans come back to the rebuilt Little John Coliseum when it opens in November of 16.
Little John's still on track with.
Yes, everything from the timing associated with that is moving along well. We've had, I think, 3 planning meetings with our programming use groups here on campus and the architects. They've gone really well. Very excited about that. We'll continue to have those through the month of August, begin to kind of crystallize what it's going to look like and how it's going to be phased in the construction. It's an interesting project because it will include also a practice facility for our men and women. So it's just not a redo of the inside. Of course, that'll be the centerpiece of it, but there will also be a practice facility associated with it as well.
How do they practice during all that when because it's obviously a difficulty now for them, even with Little John.
That's Graham. We're working on that right now. We have a few opportunities here on campus, and Coach Brownell and Coach Smith, what I really like about them is they see what's coming, and they understand that there will be a little bit of a bump in the road associated with maybe some of those things, maybe a little inconvenience along the way, but the end result is going to be really positive for the programs. But we're working hard on trying to find a spot here or relatively close to campus.
I sense there was a bit of a backlash from some IPTAY members with the increases. What's been your feel and what's been your message to those people who ask why and what the money is earmarked for?
Well, personally, I haven't had a lot of questions regarding that. I think Davis Babb may have a few more of those, but it was a long process to come up with those numbers. And really looked at the history of when the last time that increase had gone forward, and I believe it was 9 or 10 years ago, the last increase. And I may be getting these numbers, it was about a 70% increase in the cost of scholarships between the last increase and the current increase. And one of IPTAY's main thrusts and goals is to pay for the scholarships associated with our student athletes, pay for Vickery Hall, pay for their own operations. They're a self-sustaining organization. So after those 10 years, you just saw that the amount of money that was being brought in and the utility was just not the same as it was 10 years ago. So looking to do a modest increase there, and probably most important is not to allow that type of gap to occur again. A 10-year gap in increasing the numbers, because for some folks it was a fairly significant increase, and I certainly understand that. Would we be more prudent stewards if it was a much more gradual, every 3 years or something along those lines, increase to help us keep up with some of the obligations? So that's certainly not lost on IPTAY and their board and their governing people, that maybe we shouldn't let it go that long again before we make a different move.
Don't you think that there still are some people, even those who have been affiliated with the university and donor role for years, still don't clearly understand the mission and how it's accomplished?
Education, we could never do enough education, and I hope that IPTAY does a really good job with its members. Sometimes I find that folks who ask those questions might be tangentially associated with IPTAY and not the ones who are actually involved in it. But they need to be educated as well. I mean, IPTAY is a great organization. It provides us with an awful lot of resources. It is the engine behind our being able to do this $154 million worth of building. They're going to be allocating resources to debt service each and every year. They're taking part of their reserves and allocating it into a quasi-endowment, which we will take monies out of each and every year to help defease the bonds. So these facilities that we're getting ready to build, each one of them, you can say unequivocally that these are being built by IPTAY and our 15,000 IPTAY members. Through their contributions, these facilities are being built by our fans and our contributors.
There have been several new positions created within the athletic department that have really modernized the athletic department. Can you talk about your vision as far as getting the Clemson brand out there via social media, the little videos of the coaches that have really taken off?
Yeah, those are pretty clever. I think that you're looking at two people in here who positions didn't exist before, Jonathan and Joe, and a lot of that has to do with the social media and the different environment that we're living in right now. We have a great sports information department, and Tim Beret is a treasure. He is just one of the best in the business, and what we had to do was meld those two together. What you guys are needing and desiring as far as information and how it's being put out and the different modes that not only our fans are looking for, but just the general public. We had to marry that with the other parts of the sports information department that had been here for a long time. So Jonathan and Joe came on board, Nick Conklin, who does some of those videos, some video help there. Those are three of the positions that have kind of come into play here recently. The other positions maybe that you all read about are really positions that are just being refilled by folks who have left, or in Barbara's case, Barbara's now, Kennedy Dixon is now a special assistant to me, and I have some projects for her to work on as she moves towards retirement. Natalie Gonzalez will be taking over as the senior woman administrator come August the 6th. So while that's not, Barbara didn't go away when we don't want her to, because she's incredibly valuable to our organization, Natalie comes in and will have the responsibility for all of our Olympic sports and act as our senior woman administrator.
What's your reaction to the concussion settlement that came out?
I had just a brief opportunity to read that yesterday. I think I checked with Danny Poole, our trainer. I thought I knew the answer, but wanted to get it from Danny. There are 4 or 5 bullets in there that they talked about that were best practices. Made sure with Danny that we were meeting or exceeding each one of those. He assured me that we are. So I feel good from a practical perspective moving forward. What that means into the future, I think that I'm not a lawyer as it relates to that. I think that the NCAA wants to do the right thing by our student athletes, and this is maybe a first step in doing that, and maybe helping some of the people who were harmed along the way. It's the identification of those who've been harmed, which will be the very difficult task.
What have you budgeted for this year? What I've been tracking it for a number of years. How much is it?
70, Graham, 71?
71 and change.
71 million.
And that's still primarily tickets, IPTAY, and
ACC.
And ACC.
For the most part. Yeah, we have some sponsorship revenues that are inside there, but those are the big three, and have been and will continue to be the 3 major revenue sources that help fund our operation.
Looking out 3 to 5 years, how do you see that? What kind of increase do you see that taking? What kind of leap?
I think that we all in our business have to be cognizant of the elasticity of ticket prices. There is, we have 7 home games, and we have folks who donate to IPTAY for the opportunity to buy seats, so that helps that part of it. We have a great atmosphere here, and we are very fortunate that people love to come here. So we have to make sure that we're doing things to make sure they continue to come. We have to upgrade our digital antenna system so that Wi-Fi is more available in parking lots and in the stadium. We have to do those kind of things in our new facilities. We have to make sure that people feel comfortable coming here, relook at traffic, see how we can help inflows and outflows, create good parking opportunities for people. So that's the fan experience side of it. But even with that, you look at the prices of tickets, and we have to make sure that we're doing the things that allow us to run a $71 million operation, but also not move fans away from that where they don't come to our games. So I think ticket prices are probably going to stay, given all that rambling, the ticket prices are probably going to be a fairly consistent number, maybe varied by the quality of opponent a little bit in a given year. IPTAY certainly continues to be really important for us. As I said earlier, they're going to take on part of the responsibility of paying the debt service associated with the facilities that we have. The other part is the Atlantic Coast Conference, and the television and conference revenues that come from there. We have, and we've talked a little bit about the creation of an Atlantic Coast Conference television network. That is still on the stove. It is being worked on by the conference, and we're very eager as athletic directors to make sure that that continues to move forward with our partner at ESPN. We know that the SEC network is coming online here in the middle of August. I'm sure it'll be successful. But at the same time, I'm sure that when we and our partner ESPN look at the business model of a potential ACC network, we will be successful as well. And that'll be another thing that comes down the line and a potential revenue source for athletic programs moving into the future.
At the ACC kickoff, there was some talk about division realignment. Is that something that's currently on the table?
We will discuss that as a group of athletic directors come October. One of the things that we had to get done, and it was fairly urgent that we got done, was resolve whether we were going to play 9 conference games or 8 conference games. That was done in May. So once that was done, we decided to take a little break, let everybody go home for the summer, and come back and then look at, should we keep divisions the way they currently are? Should we move to a 1 to 14 type circumstance where you have permanent rivals and maybe one rotator and then go through everyone else? All of those things are on the table. We'll discuss those. And it's interesting, there are a number of people who really like to stay in divisions. There are a number of people who really want to move into 1 to 14, so it's going to be kind of an interesting conversation when we get together. But it's one of those questions that you really don't have a wrong answer to. You just kind of adapt to whichever answer comes down the pike. We want to play, being in a conference, you want to be able to play each team in the conference, while a young man in football, for example, is there for their 4 years. Want them to be able to experience playing Virginia, playing North Carolina, playing Duke, the other Virginia Tech, and the teams in the other, Pittsburgh in the other division. But we have to also weigh that as what the consequences would be.